Hello, my motor enthusiasts. Max Verstappen, the three-time world champion, is expressing his frustration over the recent changes in Formula One. This year, despite his impressive 19 wins out of 22 races, he's less than thrilled about the expanded calendar with 24 races scheduled for next year, up from 19 in his debut year. Verstappen's dissatisfaction also stems from the increased number of sprint races, from 3 to 6 in 2023. These, he feels, are more about surviving than racing, threatening the DNA of F1. There's also the proposed ban on tire warmers that he believes could cause safety concerns, and his disdain for the new qualifying format, the alternative tire allocation. And not to forget his outcry at the Las Vegas Grand Prix for fewer artificial interventions and manufactured spectacles, feeling that the venues lack the passion of historic tracks. As a result, Verstappen is feeling less zealous about the sport, hinting that he might be driven towards the exit if things don't align with his vision of F1. Quite the upheaval, wouldn't you say? Well, now that we're up to speed, time for a bit of an introduction. I'm your host Enzo, passionate Formula One enthusiast and one-time local sports reporter turned podcast presenter. And joining me here is the ever-eloquent Mr. William, a well-respected commentator in the world of Formula One.
Hello everyone, happy to be here.
We're here on the F1 Motor Fever podcast, bringing you the daily rundown on the hot topic of the moment in the world of Formula One.
And today's topic is a real rollercoaster, isn't it, Enzo?
Oh, absolutely, William. You won't believe what we're about to delve into. It's absolutely vital for every Formula One fan out there. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, leave us a comment, and share our podcast with your friends and family. Your support is what keeps us going.
Every bit helps indeed.
Indeed, so stay tuned because we're about to go full throttle into this captivating topic. Carrying on with our discussion, we see that Verstappen's recent wins aren't the only things making headlines. His frustrations with the sport's changes are ringing alarm bells. With 24 races scheduled for next year, a jump from the 19 when Verstappen debuted in 2015, he's feeling the strain.
Could you clarify the impact of this change a bit more?
Of course. Picture it like this. It's as if you're a musician used to performing at 20 concerts a year. Suddenly, the number is increased to 25. That's 5 additional performances, 5 additional bouts of preparation and post-performance activities. It's not just about the race or the performance. The added pressure, stress, and workload can be overwhelming.
That does put things into perspective. And the sprint races?
Well, Verstappen isn't a fan. Imagine it's like adding more intense training sessions to an already packed training schedule. It's about surviving, not racing, which again increases the intensity and pressure.
And this affects his love for the sport.
It seems so. The changes seem to be pushing Verstappen closer to the exit, with him hinting he might not stick around after his contract with Red Bull ends in 2028. All these changes seem to be threatening the DNA of Formula One, according to Verstappen.
It's certainly a lot to take in.
Moving forward, Verstappen sticks to his beliefs about the essence of Formula One, the thrill of qualifying, the anticipation, and the grand finale on a Sunday. He feels the changes are unnecessary and would rather see efforts directed at making the competition more evenly matched.
That would certainly make things even more exciting.
Indeed. In his view, if more teams were in contention for the win, the natural result would be a more thrilling spectacle. And on a positive note, Verstappen had a win concerning tire warmers.
That's a change he welcomed, I take it?
Absolutely. Formula One's plan to scrap tire warmers after a series of tests was abandoned. Verstappen had been quite vocal about his concerns, particularly regarding safety issues.
Can you elaborate on the tire warmer issue?
He had a first-hand experience with the performance of tires without preheating in the pit lane by blankets, and it wasn't favorable. He found it unenjoyable and even risky, foreseeing more crashes. Tire degradation would also be a foreseen issue with cold tires leading to higher tire pressures.
So he advocates for full use of the tire blankets.
Precisely. He argues that since they're already there, they should either be used completely or not used at all. It's not just about the performance, but also about safety. The sport evolves, but it should always keep its essence and prioritize safety. Verstappen's frustrations extend beyond the tire warmers. The new qualifying configuration, the alternative tire allocation format, didn't sit well with him either. The weekend tire sets went from 13 to 11. For each qualifying stage, different tires were mandated. Hard for Q1, medium for Q2, and soft for Q3.
Wait a moment. Why different tires for each stage?
Oh, come on, are you having a laugh? Even my old Nan knows that. It's like asking why runners wear different shoes for a sprint versus a marathon.
Hold your horses. Not all our listeners are as well versed in the intricacies of Formula One as you and your Nan. It's a legitimate question for newcomers to the sport.
I suppose. But we risk our avid Formula One followers switching channels if we start explaining the basics.
Or they might just hang on to relish in how easy they find it.
Fair enough. To answer your question, different tires offer varying levels of grip and durability, which in turn affect speed and strategy. However, Verstappen found the change pointless, believing it limited tire use during free practice and affected the overall race strategy. His frustrations peaked at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, where he expressed his longing for fewer artificial interventions and more focus on the emotion of the sport. Verstappen also voices concerns about the sport losing its core appeal in the pursuit of entertainment. He feels that, while the frills might attract a crowd, they're not necessarily fans of the sport.
Is he suggesting that the sport is becoming more of a spectacle rather than a contest?
Precisely. He thinks the focus is shifting away from understanding and appreciating the sport for its unique challenges and sacrifices. Instead, it's turning into a backdrop for parties, drinks, and music performances. He sees this as a deviation from what Formula One stands for.
Sounds like he's unhappy with the direction Formula One is taking.
Quite. He spoke out quite strongly about this at Las Vegas, underscoring his love for the city, but expressing that the passion and emotion he cherishes in the sport were missing there.
Is Verstappen considering leaving the sport?
One might infer that, given his growing frustrations. Even though a more competitive Red Bull might alleviate some of his displeasure, the recent developments in Formula One seem to be making him less passionate about his future in the sport. It's a concerning thought, but only time will tell the course he'll take. William, what's buzzing on the old World Wide Web? Any juicy chatter?
Let's see, here's one. Robert Gracie has just put out a post saying, quote, 2023 Formula One driver rankings number 20, Sergio Perez, unquote.
Oh, that's bound to stir the pot.
As expected, Sogny pipes up with, quote, remember, it's 20th out of 22, unquote. And Sam P, or SIB00 as he goes by online, agrees, placing Perez in 19th or 20th as well.
And does anyone stand up for poor old Perez?
Not really. One Tim, or ONT1Mo, says that compared to Max Verstappen, Perez was straight up rubbish except for the first few races. Pennick agrees and adds that Perez was lucky that other teams were inconsistent. He doubts Perez would have even kept third place if Aston, Merc or Ferrari were more consistent from the start. Appropriate Fan 6007 and Skydive32 continue on the same line, saying that if a clear second-best team emerged, Perez would likely have dropped lower than fourth place.
So not much love for Perez then?
Nope. However, FritGeek and Delts28 have a lengthy debate about whether Hamilton could have won more races if Mercedes had abandoned their concept earlier. Reboot Your Computer sums up the sentiment perfectly with, quote, you're assuming whatever concept Mercedes changes to will be a more successful one than their current, unquote.
It really is all speculation in hindsight, isn't it? Any other notable comments?
Disgusted Librarian believes that the only drivers who could be considered lower than Perez would be De Vries or Sargent. And Window Viking agrees, ranking De Vries 22nd and Sargent 21st. But Mr. Slowhand77 defends them both by pointing out that they're both rookies.
The old guard versus the new. Classic tale. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you all for joining us here at F1 Motor Fever Podcast. Today, we've had a lively discussion revolving around the latest Formula One developments, Verstappen's concerns, and even looked at some internet chatter regarding Sergio Perez.
Indeed, it's been a proper chinwag, hasn't it? If you've enjoyed our chat as much as we did, why not help us spread the word? Tell your mates, post about us on your socials, maybe even bring us up over a pint at the local. We'd love to hear what you think.
Absolutely. We appreciate every like, share, and comment. Don't forget to subscribe and activate those notifications so you never miss out on an episode. We're here every day, discussing the world of Formula One and more.
And just between us, the next episode's shaping up to be an absolute belter. You really wouldn't want to miss it.
We're grateful for your time and keen to have you back with us for the next episode of F1 Motor Fever Podcast.
And remember, folks, pedal to the metal. Keep your gaze on the road. Our channel's content is pure gold.